Good morning, everyone. We want to welcome you to our second edition, David, of Choice Chats.
Hard to believe. It's hard to believe.
Really is. It really is. I don't know where we're going to go today. We have an idea, but I'm excited. I'm excited because this is a forum, everyone, that just allows us to just chat it up, talk about various topics, various items that may be weighing on your mind, on your hearts, the industry. So much to discuss today. And we're going to do our very best to consolidate it to 30 minutes. 30 minutes of your time, Chris. That's all we're asking for.
I'm ready to chat. I'm ready to chat. Listen, I'm excited to be here. It's our second episode.
I'm excited about it. Bryan, are you excited?
Oh, I've been excited for like 2 weeks, so I'm ready. Let's chat it up.
Fair enough. With that said,
think about this too, Joe. If I could just interject real quick. Here's what's cool is this is different than any other avenue that we produce. In most cases, we're coming to the market, doing our good stewardship of getting out and saying, these are all the good things the brand is doing. This is where the product, lies. This is the next promotion that's happening. This is a very different venue. This is a more casual setting. This allows us to interact with the audience in a much different way than any other forum that we currently produce. And quite frankly, more than anyone else is doing. Having said that, it's funny, Joe. When we started talking about this, the last time we had a chance to meet, I don't know if you guys remember this, we were getting ready to make the most significant launch. We weren't talk about it yet, but it was a very significant launch with a platinum PPO, which went live in the marketplace with July effective dates mid-April. We went live with that, met with a bunch of different fanfare. It was so exciting to be able to bring that out. We want to thank all of our partners, but namely Anthem Blue Cross, for their partnership and helping us get that out to the market. It's certainly something that we've been asking for, certainly something the market has demanded. So we're happy to do that. And now, Joe, that's in the rear view and we drive looking forward.
Yeah.
We are weeks away from right now to going live with Q4 rates.
It is an exciting time for all of us. It really is. Before we do move on, though, because I know we have some new listeners, some new viewers, if you will, I just want to do a quick introduction to the players and my colleagues here on this call. First off, Joseph Hernandez, Senior Director of Retention, all things account management, all things attention. To my left, top left, is Miss Kristen Berthiaume, all the way from North Carolina. Kristen Berthiaume, welcome. Down right below her, Bryan Coppin, Field Manager, managing all the RSMs out in the field. And just talking right now, just speaking, big dog over here, Vice President of Sales, Mr. David McClintock.
I appreciate you, Mr. Hernandez. I appreciate you. So with that all said, guys, I was actually thinking about this the other day because there's, life happens. It really does. And it happens fast. And there's a lot of things going on, not only in our industry, but just kind of in general, if you think about it. And I started talking to my mom, because I always talk to my mom. We chat every day. Every day I talk to my mom. And more often than not, she can always kind of ground me, right? Kind of bring things together. And I was just telling her, because, we do this sometimes. We're just human nature. These are all things that are happening, The kids don't want to listen. The dog's barking, right? The emails won't stop. I'm on Zoom calls. And she's like, well, what was good about the week? And I had to pause because I wasn't ready for that yet. I was not ready to talk about that.
Always leave it to mom to recalibrate. Aren't they so good at that?
They're so good at that.
I met Kristen's mom a couple weeks ago, actually. We were at a sales event. I had the pleasure to...
Story for another day.
Oh, Miss Berthiaume, what a great woman. Please pass that along to her.
So great. I started thinking about that, though, after my mom said, and like, what kind of constitutes a good week or a bad week? And then I started to really put it into perspective because we are all so really honored and grateful to be here. It's such a good feeling for what we do to be able to serve the community as we serve it today. But more than that, I started thinking about it personally and how it kind of reflects on me. And a couple of weeks ago, we had a chance to get together with our entire sales division down in beautiful Huntington Beach. If you haven't been there, it's a must. It's an absolute must. Right there off Main Street in PCH. The weather is absolutely exceptional. And we had a chance to get together with everybody, which really we hadn't done since COVID. It was amazing, right? Yeah. And you get everybody together and you have all of that energy in, and it felt like, walking away from that event, it's more than just, just the talks and the casual conversations. I think it was just the bond. And we forget sometimes, especially in this seat, that we have, sales talent up and down the state, working with our broker partners, working with employer groups, working with members, really from, San Diego to the Oregon border. And we don't get to see them as often as we would like sometimes. And that event felt so good.
Yeah.
It really did, walking away from that and the spirit that came out of that. I had a chance after, mom brought me together, right? It's like, it was a good week. That constitutes a good week. And then she's like, well, what was bad about, the week? A few days later, and I should read my personal emails more often, but you know how it is, Joe. All they want, it's just bills. That's all it is, right? And ads for things I'll never buy. I'm not going to buy the knife set. I'm not going to buy it, but I get spammed all the time on it. Well, in one of those emails, Joseph, Southern California Edison emailed me to notify me that they were going to do power maintenance. I didn't read it. I didn't read it, Joe. I didn't read it.
They've done that, brother.
Brother, they shut the power down from 9 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. Now, Joe, I don't know if you know this, and I'll open this up to Kristen and Bryan, but when they shut the power down and you work from home, it's a rough day at the office.
Yeah,
it was a bad week. That was not fun. I just want to share that with the audience. Now, we got all of our commitments done, but you really don't realize, how dependent we are on some of these things. So there's no Wi-Fi. You better close the fridge if you get something out quick. I mean, there's a lot of things that were happening. And, in the end, it was really cool to see the balance of both. Like on one hand, sales event, the pomp, the circumstance, the spirit. And on the other hand, no power. But nonetheless, I'm here. It's Choice Chats. I'm excited about it. And I just want to check in with the group.
You know what that reminds me of, David? For anybody who's into pop culture and you watch the Kardashians, a guilty pleasure. I bet you more people here watch it than don't.
Oh, I'm sure.
Kris Jenner, I should say, herself introduced the peak and the pit of the week. So, David, you didn't even know it, but you were participating in pop culture history with your peak and your pit, and I love it.
Thank you so much.
That was today.
Obviously, Joe doesn't watch the Kardashians. We'll catch you up there.
No, it's not one of my shows I watch.
That's all right. It's all right.
Put it on the DVR, Joe. Put it on the DVR.
Noted for sure.
Joe, I think we should use that segue as the opportunity. Let's just transition for a quick minute here, and we're going to bring people into pop culture from a very significant year. 1996. Does anybody know why that year is significant? Anyone care to guess?
Well, I know why, but I don't think I'm allowed to guess. Right?
You're allowed to guess. By all means, spill the beans. Go ahead.
Well, I don't know that I want to. I think I'll throw it to Bryan.
Yeah, this is a great year for one notable company here, I think, right? Choice Administrators.
I believe it was the launch of CaliforniaChoice in 1996. So before we get into the heavy hitting content, we kind of want to reset and bring the audience back to what was happening the year of our launch in 1996. Some big things in pop culture, starting with the launch of eBay.
Man.
The online auction house. Give it up.
Wow.
96, huh?
Can you believe it?
Incredible, right?
Use eBay today, though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still use it?
Heck yeah. I just used it.
Did you really?
Yeah. I got some car parts off there for my my beautiful 1999 Honda Odyssey. So it was
Harder, not harder.
worked out great.
Harder, not harder.
Another story for another day. I love it. I use OfferUp. I know we're not promoting companies here, but I just don't use eBay anymore. But I did, though. I did at one point.
Well, listen, OfferUp wasn't around in 1996, but
That's
eBay
true.
was, Joseph Hernandez. Now, I'll have you know a fun fact about eBay. You know, an item that they sold, not in 96, but I love this. I think it's a fun piece of California history. Did you know the original Hollywood sign was sold on eBay for
No way.
It was.
What?
It was. It was sold for $450,000 back in 2005. Can you
Oh,
believe that?
man.
It was
Now,
a
Chris-
steal.
That wasn't a hoax. That was the real deal.
Yeah, the Hollywood sign was actually sold on eBay, the real one, in 2005 for 450 grand. Another fun fact about that Hollywood sign just steps away at the base of the hill from Sunset Boulevard, which is where the very first Kaiser Permanente was opened. Not in 1996, that was in the 50s. But nonetheless, you see how the universe is small. It all comes together.
I see how you did there. You really did bring it together. I didn't think that those two parallels would cross.
We
Now,
were
you-
going to get there.
You'd have to ask too, like with inflation, what the Hollywood sign would go for today.
Yeah.
I have a feeling even with inflation, that was a steal back in the early 2000s. For
I think it
450
was.
grand?
I couldn't even afford the H. I don't even know what was happening, right?
We'd have to go in on it for the H.
Right.
Second fun fact, if you're going back to pop culture in 1996, it was also the launch of Ask Jeeves. Does
No
anyone
way.
remember?
I remember
Ask
that.
Jeeves, the search question and answer based engine. Remember that one?
That was the original Google search, right?
It was. It was. I mean, you know, what's so interesting too is like we've kind of even leapfrogged that in a short amount of time. Now we're Chat GPT, right? That's where we're at today. Wow. Ask Jeeves. It was
1996.
What was I doing in 96?
It's a big year.
We should ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves.
Hey.
I was a junior in high school.
Woo.
You know, Dave, you know what 96 was?
Oh, I know what 96 was.
That was the Attitude Era.
It really was. It was
For those that don't know, enlighten everybody with the Attitude. I know there's some fans here on the line. There has to be. Enlighten us what the Attitude era was, Dave.
If you know, to be honest with you, Joe, I typically don't like to. Now, I was already sharing personal, right? We talked about, you know, a good week and a bad week. And now you're asking me to talk about guilty pleasures. And I didn't know that we were going to take it there today. But I mean, I guess since you've brought it up and now the audience is demanding to know, waiting in suspense, I imagine, wherever they're listening to this. Some people are watching this, some other people are listening to this, and maybe on a treadmill. I mean, it's really fantastic what this, you know, forum allows us to do. But the guilty pleasure that Joseph is alluding to when he says the Attitude Era is actually the WWE.
That's right.
It really is World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, for those of you who are a little more old school, I'm an old school heart at myself. You remember them more commonly referred to as the WWF or the World Wrestling Federation. A fun fact: Joseph and I are really big fans. In fact, huge fans. We've known each other for nearly 20 years, and that was one of our initial bonds. You would think, as two young strapping lads getting into the industry, that we would have so much in common. We would talk about trends. We were going to talk about the business, our business plans. We weren't. We were actually talking about WWE, what happened on the Monday Night Wrestling shows, and it was such a good time. It was such a good time. Now, Joe, since we're already throwing it out there, we had the pleasure in beautiful Los Angeles, California, right? City of the Stars, WrestleMania happened this year.
That was fun.
How great was that?
That was exciting. My first time at SoFi Stadium, by the way, if you have not had the chance to walk those floors and walk that venue, it is a sight. It is a sight. It surely is. But to hold the grand spectacle of them all, the Super Bowl, if you will, of wrestling, it was great. We had a lot of fun there. We had some friends there, some family, and it was a great time. So, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on this call today. I don't know, Bryan, if you're one of them, or Chris, I know you've been itching to go to an event with us. That I know for sure. But I know there's a lot of fans out there. They're the closet fans. They're the undercover fans, right?
Yeah.
Multi-billion-dollar company.
It is
getting bigger by the day.
It is fascinating. Now, Joe, I'll share with you one more fun fact about, you know, the WWE. There was one time in another faraway land, you could even say another lifetime. You know, I actually went to a wrestling school. I did, y'all.
I didn't know we were going there today.
I did.
He did.
And so there's a school down in Los Angeles. I went down there and I signed my name up, Chris. I was going to make it big time. This was going to happen. And it's funny looking back on that because, you know, you would have thought, wow, man, that's really cool to do something like that, like in your early teens or you know, early 20s. Y'all, I was mid-30s and doing it. Okay, we were
better late than never.
We were not going to let the.
There's no way you can do it now, my friend. There's no way.
No, the body.
There's certainly no way.
It wouldn't happen. You know what I mean? But I lasted all of about 3 weeks. Bryan Coppin, you know, the squats, they make you do 300 squats a day. And then like when you go back the next, it just wasn't working. Plus being dropped on your neck isn't necessarily the best thing when you got to go out there and deliver the good word and you actually have, you know, a career. So we stopped that. We shelved that. Still a fan nonetheless, Joe. It is my
question. Did we have a stage name that we picked out in these 3 weeks? I would love to hear that.
You know, to be honest with you, never got that far, but knowing based on my performance, I call myself Crash. Because that's what it looked like, to be honest with you. It was not good. I'll just leave that there. I'll leave that there, to be honest with you. But thank you for asking, Mr. Hernandez. The audience knows more about me than any other time, really, right? Forget social media. We just threw it all out there today on Choice Chats.
Well, I think that's what the forum's for. If you're looking for, the webinar style forum, that's not what this is. This is an opportunity for us just to get to know one another, get the audience to know a little bit more about us. But we do try to carve out some time, y'all. We do try to carve out some time. We try to talk some shop, right? We want to break it down. We want to talk about choice, obviously. We want to talk about what's happening in our industry. And so right now, I want to transition this over to Mr. Bryan Coppin. I know he has an important topic he wants to chat about today. And Bryan, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, thank you, Joseph. So, we've had some fun here today talking about some interesting things and bringing it back kind of full circle. We've talked a lot about what's going on in our industry and some of the other influences that are happening out there with inflation, prices of gas, groceries, everything's going up. We're healthcare professionals, right? And we serve as a consultant in a variety of ways to our clients. So one thing I wanted to talk about today was, how do you manage costs out there in today's world, right? Employers are getting pressured from every which way, from, all the regulations, compliance, like we mentioned, inflation, costs of goods are going up, trying to retain and attract talent. There's a lot they have on their plate. And then throw on top of that, well, what am I going to do for my benefits package? And how am I going to afford this? And how do I even start? So I wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about that because I think it's important. And as I was going through this and doing some research, I really found that there were two different segments of this question. The first, obviously, are those hard costs, right? I'm an employer. I want to put an employee benefits package in place. What is it going to cost me, right? So you go and you look at your budget, you're looking at the bottom line. That's one piece of it, right? How much can I allocate towards these employee benefits? The other part is, well, what am I even going to offer out there, right? So yeah, I know medical is probably going to be the anchor. And then, what else do my employees need or want? Dental, vision, chiropractic, life, LTD, ST. I mean, the list goes on. And that really is going to be tailored to the specific employer and what their employees and really the industry that they're in is looking for. So the employer has a lot right there on their plate to dig down, look at the financials, make sure they're going to be stable once they do offer this and it's within their purse strings to even open up and do this. And that's done on a cost sharing basis, right? You're going to put in a defined contribution, right? Buzzword of the day, figure out what the employer portion is going to be. And you usually offset that with the employees having some skin in the game. And I'm going through and I'm Googling, or I probably should have asked Jeeves, but I'm looking to see, give me some more information into this of how does a typical employer even go about figure out, do I do 50%, 75? Do I offer it to dependents? And I got just a plethora of different, opinions and statisticals and all of that information. And okay, I'm jotting these things down, and it really comes down to, what do you have in the budget to be competitive in the market that is going to still allow you to be financially healthy going forward, right? That budget. That's just the piece of it. But I didn't see anywhere in there of kind of the long-term effects or what else goes into when you're managing your costs, right? And I don't think we think about this as a long-term. You set up your budget, but you really need to do right by your employees when you're even putting this package in place. If you're putting something in place where you're supplementing 50% of a bronze level plan and your employees are making a little over minimum wage, that's going to be a big burden for them to even put benefits in for them and their family. So you're not doing them a huge service by doing that. So really, you want to look at and think about, what are you trying to accomplish with this benefit package? And what does that look like in the long term? And what I mean by that is there's going to be retention that is involved with that, employee retention, right? Are you going to lose or potentially lose employees because you're not offering the right plans at the right price point that they can afford? they may have to be forced out and look elsewhere to a competitor that is offering a better benefits package. The next is attracting new talent, right? Do you want to bring in some new talent that's going to take your business to the next level? And that's hard, right? What price point do you put on that? Or is there a dollar value associated with that? And then on the flip side, it's about, losing and going through the rehire process and training and taking time away from your business now to put back into your employees and getting them up to speed. So that turnover. So really, when I started to dig into this topic, yes, you can look at it from that budgetary standpoint and look at, a very black and white numbers, dollars and cents point of view and what you want to offer. But really, you want to look at it from the employee's perspective, from a global perspective, and saying, what am I trying to accomplish with this benefit package? And is that the right one for me? And I think for everybody on the call today that serves as those healthcare professionals in that consultative manner, you really want to take a look at that and dig in and lean into that when you are talking to a client or a prospect, to give them that full preview of what they should be considering when they're putting that in place. Because a lot of times they don't know, and they are looking to you to serve as that advisor to help guide them through that process. So I don't know if that answered the question completely, but hopefully it gave you some more ideas and topics to think about when you're going through this process with your clients or prospective clients. And I think that's important and something that we've lost sight of in previous times. So I want to bring that up to the forefront. I'll open it up to my colleagues. Maybe they have some input to share as well.
I would have to say, I think you nailed it. And, based on, the ability for us to serve, thousands of employers today, it's a distinct privilege, by the way. We love doing that. When we begin to survey our broker partners and our employer group audience that we serve, you get to hear, I think, trends depending on, the seasonality of things, sometimes the timing of things. If I can take y'all back in the time machine, y'all remember when we were going through, the influx of ACA and getting ready to launch that circa 2014, and no one really had answers, although this impending legislation that we're all going to be subject to is coming. We are here. So, the conversations kind of pierced around that. And then you have conversations later on about different regulations and what things are required. Then you have other mandates that come through. And then now lately, and Kristen, you and I have talked about this at great length and great detail, has been the circulation. I think Bryan touched on a little bit too, at least in the dialogues and the conversations, has just been, inflation in totality and the effect that it has had on everything, myself included. I find myself being a much more conscious consumer on everything. There is one gas station that I know that is near the house that I will drive a little bit further to because I'm about to save 32 cents and I'm going to do it. And the same thing happens when I'm doing grocery shopping. The same thing happens when, we start talking about cutting the cable cord and doing things like that. I have done all those exercises and I know I'm not alone. And I know the people that we work with, the people that we serve have gone through the same exercise. And I do the same thing too, although we're not there yet. We're going to do it when we go through our annual open enrollment period as well. And I will do an evaluation of what works best for me and my family dynamic and my pocketbook. I am a consumer at heart. So I love working at California Choice and what we do in Choice Administrators, bringing that consumerism, because people will have to make some decisions. They just will. And so I think what you touched on was absolutely brilliant. It's timely because we're hearing a lot about it and we're going to start hearing more about it. Again, I touched on this earlier. We're weeks away from going into Q4. The majority of the employer groups that we serve today, the brokers that we work with, this is the busiest time of the year. And y'all know it. You just do. And so, Chris, I'd like to get your thoughts. I know we talked about a lot of topical things. We call it sometimes the surf report, the weather report, like what's happening. But a lot of what Bryan says really kind of dovetails in what you and I have talked about in some of the content that we brought in other forms, not necessarily in Choice Chats, to the marketplace with some of our elite agency partners, with some of our employer groups and even members to help them understand. I mean, what's your take on it?
It's interesting. You talk about managing costs, and costs can be defined as a lot of different things. There can be hard costs. It's your bottom line. It's your budget. It's the money that's coming out of your checking or your savings account, right? And you also have some of these intangible costs, like your human capital.
Yeah.
Some of the things that I think have become forefront of the conversation as we are meeting with different agencies, different health plans. It is a new landscape in 2023. We are currently just coming on the other side of a post-COVID marketplace. We're just getting on the other side of the Great Resignation. Y'all remember that term?
Remember that.
Remember the great, we're not that far beyond that. Can you believe it?
It's crazy.
And what's interesting, some of the trends that we've been having a lot of discussions about is a lot of people are looking for talent. A lot of people are making moves, and that's just not specific to our industry. That is across all industries because the job market has changed. People's priorities have changed. For goodness sake, their home base has changed. A lot of that has changed for a lot of folks.
Right.
And, yeah.
I was going to say too, Chris, I think that also kind of laments what you and I have been doing some readings, like sharing articles. You would think we'd be sharing cooler articles, maybe about the Kardashians and stuff like that. You touched on that earlier, but
right.
A lot of the trends that we've heard about too are companies today, and this is an ongoing trend, and it's the right thing to do, by the way, is really focusing on company culture and how important that is. And I think and I'll let you kind of run with it a little bit, but I think when you take what Bryan talked about, when you think about an employee, especially in the recruitment stage of it, right? It's kind of like staging a house, right? So everything's clean and we got everything painted, we got it staged, we got it, for a lot of cases when we're doing employee recruiting, sometimes tougher than others, depending on the talent pool that we have, it is a large package, that includes, as Bryan alluded to, salary, benefits. What does that look like? It's not just offering benefits, and what's the cost to even do this and get this off the ground? It's what makes the program at CaliforniaChoice so unique. You can reach all those different price points, networks, audiences, different carrier partners. I mean, that's what's the beauty of it. But really, there's been a strong emphasis on company culture. A lot of articles taking place in that. Kristen, what are your thoughts on that?
I read something really interesting. I even just enjoyed the title of this article. You ready? This is from Forbes, y'all. Here's the title of the article: Out with the Great Resignation, in with the Great Retention. So what is it that employers are doing now to be able to retain and attract some of the best talent? And what are some of the costs associated with that? So when you talk about not being able to retain employees, the average expense for an employer to replace one of their employees was somewhere between 1.5 to 2 times the salary of that employee.
Wow.
So if that doesn't tell you that your best bet is investing in your human capital, I can't help you. You can lead the horse to the water, you can't make him drink. But if there is not anything that is more important than retaining and making sure your employees are happy, just from a cost management perspective, that was it. So we'll share with you some of the strategies. You already touched on it. One way to make folks happy is, of course, you could pay them more. Right? That's pretty easy. Check that off the list. I bet that comes as no surprise to anybody here. Sure. Better benefits. Here's something fun that I looked up, you guys.
Please.
So simple. The definition of better? You were to just pull it up. Look it up. Pull up the definition of better, and it is this: of superior quality or excellence, more complete or thorough. Now, I will challenge anybody listening to this call to find a more complete or thorough benefits package than what you would be able to offer here at Choice. You just won't find one that is more complete or thorough. You can't. It's not possible.
I agree with you 100%. And it's so interesting, again, as we talk about, and this is what's so great about this format, Choice Chats, right? Is we can tackle subjects that are kind of mainstream or to a degree pop culture that I don't know ever would make it to a product launch webinar. And that's what I really love about, Choice Chats, and what we're doing here. And, to bring up the subject, and I know this because, again, when we're out there, we're networking, to hear, Kristen talk about employee retention and what employers are doing, quite frankly, she actually hit the nail on the head, because that is top of mind. And so it's not just, again, I think, Kristen, you alluded to this, just signing a check. It's not that's not everything. I think people are looking again for the more complete package, as you can see. And we get to hear a lot of that. And we feel ultimately going to a market that has all these different dynamics taking place, that we are absolutely confident in what we offer here, being able to meet the needs of so many different people, so that an employer, I think, Bryan, to your point earlier, they can take the focus out of having to make those hard decisions and how much do I pay and what, you know what I mean, and what network do I have to do. You just offer the marketplace, and then you can get to other items that would help them, you know, retain employees, whatever those things may look like. And there's a lot of different strategies I think we can get to. That's a totally separate chat.
We got to talk about some of those, Dave. And I think, in fact, as we talk about some of those other things, maybe we like open up the curtain a little bit and let people see behind the strategies that we implement here at Choice Admin, because it's relevant. And I think we're sort of,
I like that idea.
we'll pat ourselves on the back and say we're a little on trend. So let me give you some stats here.
Please.
So you talk about some of the reasons why folks are leaving their companies, and we already touched on them. Maybe you feel like you're not being compensated enough. Maybe you feel like your benefits aren't up to par for other employers within your industry. But what about if you just feel like there's a lack of recognition? You're not being appreciated within your organization. What if you feel that the job you are performing doesn't actually impact results? Doesn't make a difference. How do you make your employees feel like what they are doing matters? What they are doing contributes to your vision, your overall goals as an organization, and how are they helping us move this machine, if you will, forward to offer a better benefit to Californians and employers? So we have focused a lot. We have looked inward at Choice. And like I say, we can let the folks in a little behind the curtains, but we have focused a lot on our company culture over the past 24 months, I would say, right, David?
I mean, absolutely. And I think we've seen it just in, you know, numerous metrics. I think overall, you know, culture, as it were. And I think, you know, moreover, kind of employee morale. And I think that the talent here, and if I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to say, I appreciate every one of you, my colleagues here, right? And everybody on this chat journey with us. But the reality is everybody wants to be liked and loved, that's for sure. And if we can give that feeling to a degree in the professional sense that what people do and that people matter, then we have won. And when you have that spirit within your company and within that culture, imagine what you can do when you start delivering that type of results and that type of feeling to your external audience. And I think that's what we're doing today. And so I'm really proud of that. Yeah. So great point on that, Chris. And now, Joseph, this is a chat really for everyone. It's for the masses, right? Anyone within range of our voice, anyone that could download it, stream it, however you want to do it. But for this particular part of our chat, really, Joe, the show is yours. It's all yours.
No.
Show's mine.
Right.
I think what he's inviting you to, Joseph, is, listen, part of the company culture, everybody may not know this on this call, but we had a sales event a few weeks ago, and Joseph had the opportunity in front of all of our sales and operations teams to put us under his learning tree. And when I tell you, it was a fantastic experience that we wanted to replicate, even if just for 60 seconds on Choice Chats. Joe, can you take me back to the learning tree, please?
Sure. No, I certainly can. We had a great time. You know, a couple weeks ago, as they said, we had a sales event and everyone enjoyed themselves. And a few of us had an opportunity to bring forth a few different topics. My topic was something that was near and dear to my heart. And the topic that I think a lot of us should really take the time, stop, and try to focus in on. And it's a topic that I think if we just honed in a little bit more in life, I think we can find success that much quicker. And success looks different for everyone. But the topic that I had the pleasure and the opportunity to bring forth was on commitment. And what is commitment? Webster's dictionary defines commitment as an agreement or a pledge to do something in the future. I think Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest coaches of all time, said it best. He said, most people fail not because of a lack of desire, but because of a lack of commitment. You know, guys, people on this call, you know, wherever you may find yourself, I think we've all gone through this tradition year over year of, you know, making that New Year's resolution, right? I mean, yeah. For a show of hands, right? I mean, we all go through it. Yeah. And what's interesting, though, and what I found out is that, did you guys know only 9% of Americans that make resolutions actually complete them? In fact, research goes on to show that 23% of people quit their resolution by the end of the first week. And guess what? A lot of us on this call probably fall into that mix. I'll be the first one, guilty as charged, right? But why is that? I think because for many of us, a resolution is just a wish. We have to pursue that resolution. In other words, guys, we got to take action. There are two different types of people. There are those who wish and hope, and there are those who wish, commit, and achieve. And if I could leave you with a question that just kind of resonates with you today, which one are you? Where do you fall at? The difference between them is commitment. You see, because it's the level of commitment to what you're doing that is going to decide your level of success. Unfortunately, for most of us, we stop after the wish part. For a lot of us, we're not willing to endure the pain to reach those dreams, to commit to those dreams, the pain, the hurdles, having to wake up early, right, Dave, and cut out certain foods, Bryan, get on the Peloton. Those are the things that stop a lot of us of finding success in any attempt to complete that resolution. Now, let's get this straight. There is no shortcut to success. I think we can all agree to that. I've been there. Try to cut corners, try to ease our way past hard work, right? But what I've learned in my own life, Chris, and I think you're gonna like this, what I've learned in my own life, and more recently, is that the only way to be successful is to take that long road. Because guys, it's not about the destination. It's about that journey, right? It's the long road. It's the journey. It's the experiences that make us who we are. And if I can leave you with 4 commitments that helped me in my life, you might want to write these down. I think you can find success in that. Number 1, believe in yourself, right? You got to start believing in yourself before others can start believing in you. Number 2, take action every day. And when I say take action, commit yourself to that action without excuses, guys. There's no room for excuses. Be the hardest worker in the room. Number 3, be adaptable. Be willing to learn continually. Be under that tree of knowledge, right? Always be willing to learn. Always be willing to take in what people are sharing and be willing to change, right, Dave? Be willing to change. And number 4, never give up. As cliche as that may sound, guys, never giving up on yourself should be the ultimate mantra to our success. And I'll end with this. Success for everyone looks different, but it starts with commitment, and it starts here. It can start now. The way we think, the way we see, the way we talk, right? The way we live. We can't walk the line. You got to make a decision. Either you're all in or you're all out. But I know a lot of the people on this call today, including the 3 that are in front of me right now, we're all in, because that's the kind of people that we are. In whatever you do, it's not about the outcome. The outcome will come. The results will surely come. But you can't focus on the then if you don't focus on the now. And so with that said, whatever you do, you have to work. Whatever you do, it's going to be a sacrifice. But whatever you do, you have to be committed. Be intentional. Be deliberate. Hope doesn't produce results. Hope doesn't reach your dream. Hope is a desire, but commitment produces results. With that said,
that's amazing.
That's what I got for you today.
Wasn't that a feel-good moment? I tell you what, I don't meditate, but that was just a cleanse, I think, of, your mental wellness right there. It's a great message, Joe. It's fantastic.
So I agree. Chris, you always like when someone has a topic they speak so passionately about it that we do here within our brand, but on this particular subject, which is a bit unique in terms of commitment, it was so good to hear that. So thank you, Joe. Now, Joe, speaking of, I know you're a committed guy. I know this, right? Committed guy. He talked about committed, indeed. Committed, dictionary, right? We didn't have to ask G's for that. He is committed. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Here, Joe, we're committed to doing another episode of Choice Chats. We have another episode coming up soon.
We are, and we certainly do. We don't have the date for you just yet. We're working on topics, but we'd love to hear from you. I mean, we would love to hear, what topics are you looking for, right? What are some of the things that you want to talk about? It can be personal, it can be engaging, it can be what's going on in the industry. That's what this is. Choice Chats is just an opportunity to chat us up.
Right.
Let's talk.
Having said that, Chris, we wanted to we get a lot of fanfare on social media, that, right? Trending on so many different platforms.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we more often get asked, though, is about our swag, right?
The swag is pretty fantastic. I can't say that I blame people for asking. You know, we just gave everybody on the team one of our beach towels. They are plush, they are oversized, they are branded, they're beautiful. I think we're going to give one away today. In fact, if you would like to win a California Choice, I think it's Choice Administrators, I stand corrected, beach towel,
It is.
oversized, plush, beautiful, you got to do the following. Email in a topic for the next Choice Chats episode and send it to our marketing team. You will find the inbox, marketing@choiceadmin.com. So if you would be so kind, submit a topic. Again, this is really our opportunity to explore topics that are relating to the industry. It could be personal, could be professional. We could talk about product. We can talk about a number of different things, but we're interested to know what you would like for us to talk about. So submit your request, marketing@choiceadmin.com, and you may find yourself with a new Choice Admin beach towel coming your way in the next couple of weeks.
So awesome. And Joe, we're also, we're pretty big influencers on social media. And I know you are too. I watch the stories.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. But as a company, we certainly are making the right strides and the right attempts to be relevant in the market. And so I believe our marketing team will be in just a few moments showing you what those links are to Instagram and to TikTok, right?
Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, we're everywhere, Joe.
We are everywhere. We certainly are. And we have the opportunity to see a lot of you up and down the state too. So we'll see you in person. We'll see you in these forums. We have webinars that are upcoming as well. But more importantly, on behalf of my colleagues here on this call, myself, Joseph Hernandez, we'll see you in the chats.